Like Michael said, John Smart introduced us to one of the owners of the Hilton. At that stage it was the Hilton in the Maldives. He was out here on holiday and he was looking for a New Zealand supplier to supply resort project up there. We priced the job in late 1996 and in early 1997 we were lucky enough to get selected to supply the stuff. So we'll get started. Anyway, back in 1996 we started.
It's function 4 of 105.
Sorry?
We select this by coming across here, using the arrows here.
Right. 1996 we started work in Japan. We started supplying kit set buildings. These are just two of them. We supplied everything there, including the bricks and the Marlborough stone. We sent up builders from New Zealand to help them get started, as well as some bricklayers, and it developed from there. That's another one we did in Hakuba in Japan. Then in late 1996 we met Salim through John Smart and we started in the Maldives. That is the spa at Sunita Gilly. We did that in 2001. That's Malé, the capital city of the Maldives. That's about a mile by mile. It takes me about an hour to walk right around the outside, and there's 120,000 people live there, so it's pretty compact. That's the international airport. It looks small, but you can land a 747 there. And after the tsunami, they had quite a bit of damage on one of the resorts that we're involved in, and their insurance company decided that it was going to be quicker and more economical for them to fly in some product from New Zealand. So we loaded up a Qantas 747 in Auckland, 110 tonne of product, and flew it into the Maldives. So it's pretty handy to be able to do that at times. To get the product from Malé to the island, they use boats like this. They call them donies, and they use the very versatile excavators. You'll see there that the excavator has an extension on it, so it sits up a lot higher. That means they can operate in the sea with it, and they can do all sorts of stuff. So he can run in about 6 foot of water, which makes it very handy. They don't have to wait for low tide. That's just another view. Same boat, same excavator. One of the problems we had with talking about water villas in the Maldives was how we were going to do the foundations, because it's pretty difficult to try and pour concrete in coal, in sand, in water. And John came up with pouring a concrete block on the pole, on the land, and they've taken out to the site with an excavator. That one was one of the early ones that wasn't really set up properly, and they had to be done at low tide. So he just goes out there, he digs a hole. They can get it deep enough, they drop the pole in, and they fill it back in. So it's pretty simple, but it works. trying to, at this resort here, they had one pole that was 100 mil outside the building. So they thought that they would just put a strap on it and pull it back in, and they couldn't move it. They pushed it with the excavator and put a strap on it and tried to ratchet it in. They still couldn't move it, so they had to dig it out and shift it. So it just shows how good it works. We pre-cut the frames in New Zealand and send them up, and these guys here are putting them all together. These guys worked really well because they had a little factory going on land. And they worked real well. They did all of the, there was 25 double villas involved in this one. You can see there's a lot of pre-cut frames there. So once they get the poles in, they do a scaffold like that, and it makes it easy for them to do the bearers and floor joists from there. I hope everyone's noticing the health and safety requirements in Maldives. That's one of our pole farms. It looks pretty impressive, especially when you're there. That probably they do one villa in a day, probably get the poles in. Everything's shifted around by barges. That one on that resort was quite a big barge. But there's no motors, no boats or anything. They push it around, as you can see. They all love having their photo taken, so they're all smiling there for the camera. But you get an idea that they're working on floor joists and that they're getting ready to put the pre-cut frames on. Another view there, all waving to the camera. There's another resort. This is Murihi Resort. One of our good clients up there bought Murihi in about 2001. He was just going to put a coat of paint on it and run it for a little while, get some money from it before rebuilding it. But this building on the right was one of the original sort of semi-water villas. It was at high tide. The front of it was in the water. That was 8 years old, and when I got in underneath it, you could push your finger through the bearers. It was just totally rotten. One of his tourists fell through the deck, so he decided to knock them all over and rebuild it. And it brings about the versatility of radiated pine. I mean, we don't have that problem with the timber rotting. We use H4 below the floor joists and bearers just to give us a little bit more. Just another view of Murihi. That's kind of phenol. We used Decrabon tiles on that one. That was quite unusual for up there. They normally use thatch, and they're now gone to cedar shingles, but those guys wanted Decrabon, so we're quite happy to supply it to them. That's cocoa palm. That was quite different. A quite steep pitched roof. If you can just see there's a curved laminated beam involved down there. It sits on some walls and others it doesn't. John designed that for us, and it's still there today, so he must have done a pretty good job. That's another one of Canaphenol. That's looking down at the cocoa palm down onto the roof. That would be covered in local thatch. Walkways. These guys, when they were building Canaphenol, they were living on the island next door, which was a native island. And so they built this long walkway across to get to the water villas, and then suddenly realised that they cut off the access to the barge. So they had to take it up and over, like the bridge that John was talking about before, so they could run the barge through the walkway. And unfortunately, when we went across it, they hadn't finished it. So that's the architect there with his Apple computers. So that's the walkway looking from the native island towards Canaphenol, where the villas are being built. It's quite a distance. Yeah, that was me in younger days. trying to get up through the back on the walkway. The locals love having their photo taken with you. That's Brian Fitzpatrick. Brian's a local guy. Him and his son Andy do our site work for us. We don't get involved, but we do send up these guys to help out, just make sure things are going properly. They're using the right materials, not wasting too much. That photo was taken in their living accommodation. Those guys slept there. They probably, during that project, they probably didn't get to go home. They would have been earning probably about $200 US a month while they were there. So it's a different way of life to what we're used to. Murahi, the guy on the right is one of the owners. The guy on the red is the project manager, and the other guy, I'm not sure who he was. These guys are really good at improvising. They're real number 8 wire people. That is a jet boat. It has two water pumps with petrol engines there, and to turn it, he shifts those pipes coming out the back one way or the other to turn that boat. That was amazing. They used that to shift things around the water villas. And it's another boat they shift water on. Quite often they'll throw the timber in the water, which is not what we really like, tie it up, and then they'll float it out to where they want it and pick it up from there. More safety standards in the Maldives. That was on the beach and it was just about to rain. You just shake your head. Pine walkways. These people that we did this resort for really into their hardwood timbers. We convinced them that pine was the way to go, and this is a clear mix pine, which gives a very good finish. And their guests really like it, because hardwood to walk on in bare feet on a hot day in the Maldives is not nice. It burns your feet. Yet that is quite light, and they can walk along there in bare feet, which is quite interesting. This is our last one. We're in the throes of finishing this one off. This is Centaur Raz Fushi. It's not far from Malé. It's a 2.5 star resort. That's the mock-up room they've completed. That's our timber sitting around. That's actually stacked quite nicely compared to some resorts. All radiator pine. That's the platforms and decking all going down there. Walkways. For some reason they seem to leave the walkways till the last, which is, I always felt that if they built the walkways first, they could get the stuff out a lot easier, but they don't work that way for some reason. Pretty compact, but it serves its purpose. It'll open the Maldives for people with a little bit less money. Probably pay, I would think, $200, $250 a night US for this one, and it probably will be all inclusive. That's another walkway there, and the steps going down into the sea. It's quite nice having steps from your water villa down into the sea. You can go for a snorkel and then come back up into your own villa. You don't have to walk past everyone and that sort of thing. Go back to that one. So in fact, just a few brief facts on that one. There's 3,500 poles, H6 poles involved in that resort. There was 1,375 cubic metres of radiata pine timber, over 20,000 bolts. There's 870 25 kg boxes of nails and 5,900 sheets of plywood. Those aluminium doors were made locally in Glennon, and there was 110 of those 4 metre double sliding doors. So as you can see, we can get through quite a bit of product on one of these projects. That's another project we did in 2009, that's in Antarctica Harbour. Those are concrete poles, unfortunately, but they've taken on John's idea of pouring them on the land and putting a footing on them, and they do it in a plastic tube, and they top them up to the right height once they get them in place. That's the interior of Anantara Digu, that's their spa reception. And that's another shot of their spa reception. Some of these resorts are really classy. That's Vilamendu, that's a spa complex on the right, and water villas on the left going out on the walkway. That's looking back from the end water villa back onto the island, and that's a shot of the island. The top end of that island for some reason is always rough. There's another resort that we worked on over to the left hand side of that, and when we were working there, quite often to get the seaplane back to Marlborough, I had to come to this island because it was operating under a different owner and older style resort. And it was always really, really rough coming around that top end for some reason. This is one of Richard's favourites. I know Richard's here somewhere. This is the Tepan hut at Anantara Resort. That's 15 metres tall. So when we first got the plans for that, it was a bit hell, what are we going to do here? But anyway, Richard worked on that after many phone calls and that sort of thing. And they did the structural design for us. Hunters and Nelson did the laminated beams. As you can see, there's two ellipses, and then all the rafters are curved, and that's looking up the side. That's a pretty good. It's a pretty good site, that one. Richard designed it. It had 8 columns, and when they built it, they decided one was in the way of guests getting in, so they just deleted it. Which, when I told Richard, he was really impressed about that and just shook his head. This is Lily Beach Resort. That's not far away from Vilamendu. Those water villas on this end, the 4 water suites, if you want to stay in them, it'll probably cost you around about $1,200 US a night. That's the water villa. You walk through the front door and there you're greeted by a glass floor. I would imagine that quite a few of the guests would probably sort of think twice about stepping on that glass floor, but it is very, very safe. That's the outside view of the water villa. That's still under construction. Unfortunate thing is I don't get to see a lot of these resorts when they're finished. Usually it's only during the construction stages. That's their spa complex. That one stretched things a little bit with those roofs on the spa villas. But they worked out quite well. Gallagher. We've had 3 goes at Gallagher over the years. We did 10 water villas in 1999. We were back there again in 2001, and then in 2006 we did another 45 water villas and 10 land villas for them. So it's completely rebuilt now. And I was there a couple of weeks ago, and that was absolutely chocker, and they like that all the time. So they're always very pleased with that resort. That's the first lot of water villas we did there. Going back to the Conrad, we've had 3 goes at the Conrad. This was our 2nd go. These were the 2 big villas. And you'll see there's a glass floor there. Those glass floors are 3.2 by 3.2, which is a pretty big area. because that won't go in a container, we split it into 4 pieces, and you'll see there, if you look closely, there's glass beams underneath them that hold the glass floor up. John Smart did have a little bit of input into holding the whole thing up, but the glass engineers did the floor itself. That's the third lot of water villas we did at the Conrad. They're the spa villas. They have a bedroom and a big bathroom, and they have another room attached to them, which is a spa area where you have to book a certain amount of spas to stay there, and the lady will come out and give you a massage at select times, that sort of thing. Going back there, those walkways, you'll see the marks, they run buggies on them, and the buggies were transmitting the noise into the room. They're going across the walkway as they're going out, and it just transmits right into the room, and you're sleeping at night and you can hear them coming. So what we did there is those walkways coming from the room onto the main walkway don't actually touch the main walkway. So it stopped that completely, which was really good. Another shot. The wee piece out of the roof, they've put solar heating in there. The hot water comes from solar. That's the rafter stage of it. You'll see on the left-hand side there, you see the thatching underneath the roof. We've formed 3 separate roofs on that one, all internal hip roofs, and they were thatched. And then we formed another roof over the top. So when you're in the bathroom or the bedroom or the spa room, you've got your own little internal hip roof, and it looks really nice. That's ready for the thatch, and that's the internal thatch roof on the bedroom. Another shot of the water villa. That's back to the big water villa on the other side of the island. That's, Conrad is 2 islands. The big one has those water villas, and then the smaller island has water villas as well. Back to St Abigail. This is a different type of resort. That's their bar and restaurant. As you can see, the construction of these ones is not quite normal. They look sort of different. The owners are different type of people. They're very, very particular about what they want. They know what they want. They're different, but they are particularly nice to stay in. You walk in and you've got an open living area. Everything is green. They don't like plastic or anything like that. They hate our green poles. The man from Tuakea, where is he? Do you have any other colour for the treatment? Yeah. They actually went away. We've done quite a bit of work over the years for these people, and they went away from using our poles and used gum, but out of South Africa and Laos. But they're having all sorts of problems now with rot and termites, and they're now going back to our green poles. That's, again, quite quirky. You have a wee walkway going out to a glass block shower at the end of the villa, and on just to the right of the walkway you'll see a step going down. At high tide, that area is totally, no one can see you in there, so you can have a swim around in there if you want to, or whatever. That's looking at the glass shower again. That's another shot of Murihi Island. That all around roof, they left them there because the builders were using them as accommodation while they were building our villas. That's the bathroom at Marahi. The outside, they wanted something that you could shut your shower off if you wanted to, or you could open it up so it'd be like showering outside, so they put those doors on. That's a shot of the deck, and that's the two mock-up. It looks a wee bit false, but it's actually real. They're the two mock-ups we did for them first. And this one was a bit of a test for the old brain. This is what we got from Nyama. They wanted to build these pods. Took a little bit of doing, but that's it. That's the end result. Richard did the engineering for us. He did the connections. I'm not quite sure. I haven't been to the island. I'm not sure whether they actually used them or not. But quite a sight. Quite a sight. If you have a look at the one on the left-hand side, they've tipped it over so that it's not sitting up straight. That's another shot of it. That's what they call their tribal restaurant. Just to finish off, we'll give you a shot of the inside of the Sunset Water Villa at Conrad. Whoops. What have we done here? That lining on that one, it's sort of hard to see. I was hoping it would come up a little bit better than that. That lining here is torn out of Papua New Guinea. There's the glass floor. The doors on the front of that room, that's the living room, and it's a 2-bedroom unit. The doors on the front of that slide into pockets either side, so the whole front of it opens up. You see that out the front there, they had an excavator out there and dug a big hole so you could have a wee bit of a deeper swimming hole in front of your room. But since then they have put a concrete swimming pool in there. They precast it on another island and put it together in front of the villas. So you've got your own swimming pool out the front of the villa now. And when they came to us, they said that they wanted something special for a bed. They wanted to be able to lay in bed and watch the TV in the lounge, or turn it so that it could be, you could look out into the sea. We sort of hummed and hawed about it a wee bit, and we ended up talking with Jack Gleeson at Eckford Engineering here locally. And Jack designed that bed. It rotates 180 degrees on a remote control, so you can sit in bed and do whatever you like with it. And Brownie's mattresses got their act together, and they built 2 round mattresses for it to go on it. The tourists love it. The guy that did this thing here was a Kiwi working on the resort as their entertainment guy, and he's quite clever with the computer. That's just an idea of a bathroom to share in the corner and your spa bath. So that's how the poor people live in the Maldives. Mm-hmm. That, 2 years ago when I was there, that was $2,500 US a night to stay in, plus alcohol, plus food. So it was not for Kiwis, well not for most of us anyway. Worlds away from Christchurch, but it'll give you an idea of the versatility of radiata pine. It's certainly the timber of the future. Okay, any questions?
Gary, you mentioned the rotten earlier on there, one of the ones that we replaced.
Yeah.
What timber was that built
It was a
on?
hardwood in Malaysia. Yeah.
So